Welcome back, friends. It's Carrie from the Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine, and I'm coming to you from the Sam L. Cohen Children's Room, and we are here to read some more of our book, Bob, by Wendy Moss and Rebecca Stead, with illustrations by Nicholas Gannon. And again, this is a Fywell and Friends book. Chapter 12, Bob. Livy laughs too, but only for a second. Then she acts all casual like, "Is Philippia still around? My little green heart is beating so fast. At least I think my heart is green. Am I an invisible friend? Is that what I am? No superpowers or magic? Is that why Livy's mom couldn't see me? And perhaps, most importantly, is there someone else like me?" I hold my breath until Sarah answers. "Not anymore, of course." Instead of being disappointed, my heart quickens even more. Does that mean Sarah's invisible friend found her way home? Maybe Sarah knows how to get me home too. Ask her, I want to shout to Livy. Ask her how she got Philippia home. "Oh," Livy says quickly. "I mean, duh, of course." She grabs a cookie from the plate. I can tell she's not going to let this drop. Still making it sound like no big deal, she asks, "So, what kind of things did you guys do together? Philippia, I mean." Sarah reaches for another cookie too. At the rate they are chomping through these cookies, any hope of them being left over for me is shrinking. I am amazed that I can still think of snacks at an important time like this. But there you have it. "Well, one time you came over and we all had a tea party." Livy stops chewing. "I brought my invisible friend over to your house for a tea party?" Sarah shakes her head. No, it was only the three of us. You said yours wouldn't want to get dressed up and pretend to drink from little cups. I have to smile. Livy always looked out for me. "Though I bet he looked pretty cute in a tutu," Livy says rather loudly. Clearly she knows I'm eavesdropping. "If you say so," Sarah says, then adds, "I hadn't thought about Philippa in years." What happened to her? At the end, I mean. I know Livy's face so well that even though her back is to me, I know she's holding her breath right now. This is it. This is where I find out how I'll get home. I press my eyes right up to the crack and hold my breath too. Sarah shrugs. "I got bored of pretending to see her, I guess." "Oh," Livy says. It's a sad oh. Sarah's invisible friend wasn't real, not in the same way I'm real. I feel foolish and slump down to the floor. Unfortunately, I land squarely on the mast of the pirate ship and then jump back up with a Lego sticking where Legos shouldn't. I must have made a noise because both girls turn to face the closet. Livy jumps up. "Thanks for coming today. It was fun. I'm still kind of jet-lagged, though, so I think I'm going to take a nap." "Okay," Sarah says, standing up from the rug. Livy looks all around the room and grabs one of those creepy dolls. "Do you want to borrow Abigail? I'm sure my mom won't mind." "No, thanks," Sarah says, and I think she's finally going to leave because one hand is on the doorknob, but then she says, "Do you want to hang out later?" "I can't," Livy says. "I'm making a cake with my grandmother now that the baby is out of the house." And then they leave to walk downstairs, and I come out of my closet and sit on the edge of the bed. Only crumbs are left on the cookie tray. Why am I not surprised? Livy comes back in and closes the door and flops on the bed. "I think you need a larger chicken suit. This one's like 5 times too small for you now." Before I can argue that no one taught me proper laundry techniques, she reaches under a pillow and pulls out a cookie. Saved you one. I lean past the cookie and reach around to hug her bony shoulders. "You smell clean. But what was that for?" she asks when I finally let go. "For the cookie. For not making me go to a tea party. For tape recording stories for me to listen to even though I never got them." "Guess you saw the dancing," she says. "You've got some good moves." She smiles. "I do, don't I?" "You don't need to feel bad about leaving me in the closet," I blurt out, then take a bite of the cookie. I chomp and talk and crumbs fly out and I try to explain how I was never alone because I had my imagination to keep me company. Man, this cookie tastes good. When I finally run out of words, she says, "Didn't anyone tell you not to talk with your mouth full?" All I heard between crunches was something about you exploring your inner Bob. I swallow my last bite. That's pretty much the gist of it. "You have a Lego stuck on your leg," she says, reaching over to pluck it off. "You really didn't get tired of building that same ship over and over?" I smile. In between, I'd make whatever word I was reading in the dictionary. The aardvark was my first. I was particularly proud of that one. She tilts her head at me. "How many different objects can you make from one pirate ship?" "Exactly 3,009. So far." She nods. Clearly impressed. It's impressive. So it was a ship, but also all of those other things? Yes. She tosses the Lego piece back into the closet and grabs her shoes. Where are you going? I ask. We are going to search the farm for that time capsule Sarah talked about. One thing can be lots of things, right? So a time capsule could also be a clue. Who knows what I put in there? It could take a while to find it, so bring a flashlight. My spirits rise and rise. We're going on an adventure. We don't need to bring one, I tell her with a grin. Why not? Because I know exactly where you buried it. Chapter 13, Livy. I distract Gran by asking for a snack while Bob slips out the back door. We're supposed to meet under the furthest tree in the yard, near our Sylvester rock. I find him relaxing against the tree trunk with his eyes closed and his legs straight out in front of him. You look happy, I tell him. I hand him half a slice of banana bread and kneel beside the rock to get to work, feeling around its edges. It's a big rock. How are we going to get under this thing? How could I have hidden something under it when I was 5? I am happy, Bob says cheerfully. We're together, aren't we? We're outside and we're looking for clues. We're going to find my mother, like you said, my large family, so I won't be lonely when you leave again. He smiles into the sun. Plus, I have banana bread. It's like a banana with bread. I glance at him as I try to scrape the dirt out from under one side of the rock. It gets under my nails and up my nose. Don't get your hopes up, okay, Bob? He blinks at me. Why not? Old Livy never told me not to get my hopes up. I'm just being careful of your feelings, okay? We don't know for sure what we'll find anything here. And there they are, under the Sylvester rock. Oh, we will, Bob says. We will find whatever the old Livy hid under the Sylvester rock. For me, her invisible friend. Bob is 100% sure that the old Livy hid the invisible friend time capsule under the Sylvester rock. He says that for the last 2 days he was at Gran's, old Livy got a certain look on her face whenever we got near this rock. That's how you know, I asked him. My expression 5 years ago? Bob nodded. Oh, yes. Whenever we came close to this rock, old Livy's face said, I've got a secret. It was loud and clear. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's worth a try. We have to start looking somewhere, and I have to admit that Bob is pretty good at reading faces, especially mine. So I'm scratching the hard-packed dirt away from the sides of the rock, trying to find any gaps where I might have hidden something. Now I'm pretty much coated in dirt dust. I sneeze. I look over at Bob. His eyes are closed. Hey, why are you just sitting there? I'm not just sitting here. I'm feeling the sun on my face, and I'm also being careful of you. I sit back on my heels and try to slap some of the dirt off my hands. It makes a big dust cloud. That makes me sneeze again. Careful of me? What are you talking about? He gets a patient look on his face. I'm pretty good at reading Bob's face, too. I realize, I am being careful of your fingers, Livy. You are playing very near the rock, and I don't want to drop it on you when I pick it up. He smiles and closes his eyes again. Just tell me when you're done playing in the dirt. I'm not in a hurry. I'm just enjoying the outdoors. I stand up. Bob, I'm not playing. I'm working, and we can't pick up this rock. This rock is huge. First, we're going to dig out some of the dirt underneath, then we'll both get on one side, and we'll try to tilt. I stop talking. Bob has picked up the rock and is holding it over his head. Where should I put it, he asks, if you're done playing. Speechless. I point to the tree he was leaning against, and he carefully props the rock against the tree. Bob, I say. You're strong. He nods. Yes. How did you? Look! Because there's something lying in a little dugout place in the dirt, almost exactly where I had just been digging. There must have been a little hollow spot under one edge of the rock, but 5 years later, it's packed hard with dirt. You were right, Bob! I brush the dirt off the top of whatever it is and pick it up. It's a glass jar, sealed with a metal lid. Bob doesn't even look surprised. He just gently puts the Sylvester rock back into place, as casually as Superman would. I try the lid, but it won't turn. Bob takes the jar from me, but says, let's open it at Gran's, after you wash your hands. This is old Livy's treasure, and I don't want to get it dirty. Bob does his best chicken walk all the way back to the house. It doesn't seem to matter that chickens can't really hold things. Chapter 14. Bob. Gran is on the phone in the den, and we slip right past her and up the stairs. Her voice is cracky and high-pitchy, which means she's talking to the bank again. After I supervise her hand-washing, Livy gets to work twisting off the lid. She grunts, she groans. I try to keep still, but it is not easy. Finally, she lowers her arms. This is on good. I must have been stronger when I was 5. You were different strong, I tell her, holding out my palm. She places the jar in my hand, and I only have to twist the tiniest bit, and the lid pops off. I'm sure you loosened it up, I tell her, handing it back. Uh-huh. She peeks in, then turns it over. It takes a few forceful shakes before 3 things fall onto the bed. 2 pieces of black licorice and a rolled-up photograph of old Livy sitting on the floor in front of the bookshelf in this very room, reading a book upside down. The book is upside down, that is. Livy herself is right side up. And that's it. I look at her. She looks at me. I'd have thought a time capsule would contain more stuff, I say, grabbing a piece of the licorice. You're not really going to eat that, right? It's 5 years old. I pop it in my mouth. Stale licorice is better than no licorice, any day. Livy's hand darts out and grabs the second piece before I can get it. Let's make sure you survive the first one, she says, sticking it in her pocket. She picks up the photograph. Why would I have put this one picture in there, she wonders out loud. I'm kind of insulted there's nothing about me in the jar. Would it have been so hard to put a feather from my chicken suit? She picks up the photo, then flips it over. Excuse me. Hey, Bob, look, something's glued to the back. She peels it off and holds it up. Pardon me, friends, I have to take a sip of water. I got a tickle. It's a feather from your chicken suit. I smile sheepishly, ashamed of myself. Of course Livy wouldn't have left me out. I take the feather and stick it onto one of the many bare spots on my belly. It's in much better condition than all the rest. The picture is pretty cute, I tell her, looking closer. Old Livy is obviously pretending to read the oversized book. It looks like a cool book with lots of colorful pictures on both covers. I twist my head until I can find the title. Fairy and Folk Tales from A to Z. It's like my dictionary, A to Z. I don't think I know any fairy or folk tales, but Livy does, or at least her mother does. Livy studies the picture too. Suddenly she grabs my arm. Bob! What does that look like on the cover? She stabs her finger at the picture. What do you mean? I turn it so the book cover is facing the right way and try to identify the objects from the cover. Is that a mermaid? Yes, she says impatiently. It's a mermaid on a rock. A 3-headed lion, a lumberjack, a fairy, and you! Me! I grab the photo back. The only drawing on the cover I don't recognize as of one of the other things is some kind of short green creature with one eyebrow. Okay, I see why she'd think I'd bear a slight resemblance to the creature in the drawing, but no, I shake my head. I think you just insulted the characters in this book. He's much more handsome than me. Bob, she says, you look exactly like this guy. She pushes me out the door of the bedroom and into the bathroom and makes me face the mirror. I take a step back. I have never really looked at myself before. I turn this way and that, admiring my reflection from all angles. I'm not half bad. I keep preening because it's making her laugh. Then she stops. Seriously, though, this book must tell us what you are. It's been here all along. Come on. She races back to her room and I hurry after her. The phone rings and I hear Gran answer it downstairs. Maybe the bank is calling back. It's got to be here somewhere, Livy is saying, pulling books off the shelves with both hands. It's not on the shelves. Maybe it's under the bed, she says. She throws back the covers and ducks down and spreads her arms out like she's swimming. It is not under the bed. Where else could it be, she asks, throwing up her hands. I think about it, and it hits me that I know exactly where it is. Livy, the book is at... Before I can tell her that Sarah took it after Livy went back home last time, Gran shouts upstairs. Livy, please come downstairs right away. I need you. She sounds more urgent than I've ever heard her, even more worked up than the time a woman from the bank came all the way to her house. Livy looks torn, but only for a second. She says, I'll be right back. Keep looking. I open my mouth, but she's already flying down the stairs. I sit on the bed and wait. That's where I am when the front door slams and Gran's car drives away. With Livy in it! Well, that stinks. I move to the top of the stairs and listen to all the silence. My chest tight and my head swimmy. This is a familiar feeling. I call it the feeling of Livy leaving suddenly without calling me when. Pardon me. I call it the feeling of Livy leaving suddenly without telling me when or if she's coming back. I know this feeling well. I stand up from the stairs. Livy's not gone for good. I know that this time. No more feeling sorry for myself and waiting. I have a book with a strikingly handsome green creature on the cover to find, and there's no time to waste. I straighten my head comb and use the tape on the desk in the corner of the kitchen to secure a few feathers that are hanging loose. I grab 2 pickles and a loaf of bread. Eat 1 pickle and 2 slices of bread with butter. Then I continue my rushing out. I am not zombie fake chicken on a mission. Chapter 15. Livy. Sarah's restaurant is full of worried people and worried voices. A man and a woman stand together over a table, sketching and labeling maps on paper tablecloths. Everett's Paddock, the bush behind Callan's place, Horse Paddock East, Horse Paddock West. And underneath they're writing people's names. I look around for Sarah, her mom, or grandpa, but they aren't here. I don't know anyone here. I squeeze the pawn in my hand and tell myself, Bob, don't forget Bob. I didn't even have a chance to tell him where we were going. When I ran downstairs, Gran was hanging up the yellow kitchen phone. She said, "Get on your shoes, honey." "I'm wearing them," I said, pointing to my sandals. "No, your sneakers." By the time I found them, Gran was already out the door, and I had to run to catch up. "Danny is missing," she told me, starting the car. "He never came home for lunch. Don't worry yet." She tried to give me a quick smile. "He does this from time to time, but the town is organizing a search." Gran and I are at the restaurant to help. This is Sarah's Aunt Deidre," Gran says quickly, "and her husband Malcolm." She turns to them. "What can we do?" Deidre scans the paper. "You okay with walking the northeast quadrant of the bush behind Callan's place?" She points to one of her sketches. "From the sheep fence up to the road. I know it's a lot, but there's so much ground to cover." "Of course," Gran says. "We'll go right now." Malcolm presses a little paper bag into Gran's hand and another one into mine. "The restaurant's telephone number is in there in case you've something to tell us, and some snacks and water. It's hot. Don't forget to hydrate." Gran nods and feels for my hand without looking at me, and then we're out the door and into the sunlight again. Chapter 16. Bob. I pack and sidestep my way down to the dirt road that leads from Gran's farmhouse to Sarah's farmhouse next door. If her grandpa's home with the little boy, it will be harder to sneak in, but I have fooled them before, so my confidence is high. Well, high-ish. 3 cars and a tractor pass me on the road, and I cough from the dirt their wheels send up. I leap into the tall brown grass on the side of the road each time I hear one coming. Now I am dirty and scratched up with the pointy grass. I do not look my best. I've never been this far from the house before. It's scary, but kind of exciting too. I'm like the great explorers of the old days, setting out on new adventures, discovering faraway lands. Except I can still see Livy's bedroom window from here. I must say, I have excellent eyesight. I peek and sidestep a few more minutes, but it's slow going this way. I decide to run, because chickens can run. I am not even out of breath when I reach the farmhouse. Not to brag, it's just a fact. I am learning all sorts of things about myself on this journey already. The farmhouse is bigger than Gran's, but the wood is painted a lime green that I find a bit off-putting. Some of the grass in the front yard is scorched. They must have had a small fire. Gran's always worrying about fires in the bush during a long drought like this one. I guess it can happen on farms, too. Scary. The house seems fine, though. I crouch in the tall grass across the street, and with my really good vision, I scope out the place. One should always scope out one's surroundings before sneaking in. Gran watches a lot of detective shows, so I know about stakeouts. This is what I see. Driveway. 1 brown truck, 1 white car with a thick blue stripe down the side. The white car is very dirty. White is not a sensible color in hot, dusty environments. Front lawn. A folding table with a round-shaped bald man in a folding chair behind it. The man wears a blue outfit with a badge on his chest and is handing a map to a lady and 2 boys a few years younger than Livy, both in shorts and round hats that are too big for them. The man in blue is a policeman. Why is a policeman sitting outside Sarah's house? He is not selling lemonade. I shrink further back into the bush and peek out between the reeds. I don't want to be spotted by the long arm of the law. When I am certain there is no one else around, I sneak up the driveway, being sure to keep on the far side of the parked cars. The policeman does not even look up from his notebook. I'm that good. I keep going around the side of the house, past the chickens in their coop. They cluck and eye me suspiciously. I am unliked by chickens everywhere. They don't seem convinced that I am one of them. In my current sorry state, I don't blame them. The fields of Sarah's house are even worse condition than Gran's. Most of the ground is bare, with only a few wilted sunflowers here and there. I hurry past a sad-looking cow who is too busy flicking flies away from her ears to pay me any attention. Their kitchen door is where ours is, so I expect it to be unlocked like ours is. But when I reach up to turn the knob, I discover my luck has run out. Then I notice a square cutout on the bottom of the door. A thin plastic flap hangs in front of the picture, with a picture of a dog bone printed on it. I am going to have to crawl through a door clearly made for a dog. This is not one of my finer moments. Livy is not here to watch. I am glad Livy is not here to watch. I suck in my belly and wiggle headfirst through the hole onto the hard kitchen floor. At least there's no dog snarling down at me. I use the shiny surface of the oven to adjust my chicken outfit and to dust off the worst of the patches of dirt I brought in with me. The kitchen looks like someone left in a big hurry. Cabinets hang half open, and a half-eaten meal sits out on the table. I can hear the policeman outside talking on the phone, so there's no time to spare. Still, I do manage to finish a cheese sandwich that had only one bite taken out of it. Keeping up one's strength is very important when on a mission like this, and I will need enough energy to make it back to our house. May as well take the ham slice, too. I wash down the ham with a glass of milk as I bound up the stairs 2 at a time. I find Sarah's room easily because of the red sweatshirt in the middle of the floor. Also, it says Sarah's room in multicolored letters on the door. I open drawers and push aside the clothes hanging in her wardrobe, spotting other books, but not the right one. I feel slightly guilty for invading her privacy, but this wouldn't be necessary if she just returned the book when she was finished with it. I sit on the floor and lean against the back of the bed and think, if it's not here, then where? I stare out into the hallway, and my eyes wander across the hall to Sarah's little brother's room. I jump up. Danny! He had a book with him the day at the well. I wasn't paying close attention at the time, but there was definitely a collection of drawings decorating the cover. And it was a big book, just like the one in the photograph. He could have taken it from Sarah's room, or maybe Sarah had meant to return it to Livy, and he found it. Of course. Or I could be totally wrong, and it was a different book with him at Grand's well, and Sarah lost the fairy tale book years ago or returned it to the public library by mistake. Grand did that once. I heard her on the phone trying to get it back. His room is even messier than his sister's. Frankly, I'm surprised their mother lets them get away with this. I repeat the lifting and opening and looking under things. Then I glance up at the wall above the bed and see something that stops me in my tracks. It is a painting of a well, like the one in Grand's yard. Only this one has a trickling creek running past it and a weird tree beside it, and it is made of brick instead of stone. I climb on the bed and stand in front of the picture to get a better look. The paint is still slightly wet in places. Other than the wonky tree, I can't see anything too special about the painting, but just as I'm about to hop off to continue my search for the book, I spot a detail that makes me lean so close to the painting that my nose comes away with a dab of blue on it. On the far side of the well, something is climbing out. Something with 4 long green fingers that grip the side of the brick wall. A shiver and a kind of numb feeling begins in my face and extends down to my toes when I spot the small words painted across the bottom of the well. Please help us, well dweller. That's it for today, friends. We'll have the next installment in just a little bit.